everybody. Welcome the F back to Alpha Book Club. Happy 2018, Happy New Year. This is our online interactive book club show that you guys can join right from your computer. I'm Hector Navarro, and joining me as always is Nerdist Editor-in-Chief Rachel Hine.
Hi! Hey
and
guys!
Geek Bombs Maud Garrett. Nice shirt, Maud.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned it because it's a Betty Bott's Every Flavor Bean t-shirt. Thank you. Yay! Yeah.
It's really nice.
One time I had a boogie flavor too. Guys, I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, welcome to our Alpha community as well. We're excited to hear your thoughts on this month's book. Hi everybody in the Alpha chat. We see you guys right there. We cannot wait to get into our first book of the year.
Yes.
Before we get going, we just wanted to give a big shout out to Knox for these awesome holiday gifts. Knox Gun in the chat. I haven't opened mine yet. Let's open it. Rachel, you opened yours? What'd you get?
Hold on, I'll let you guys do the big reveal.
Oh, I'll go first. It's a Mario mug. It's a Christmas Mario mug.
I got a Star Wars Millennium Falcon booklight.
Cool.
And
That's so cute.
And then it says, there's a warning here, and I'll read it out. It says, warning, this product contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause female reproductive harm, where Knox has written, underlined twice, sorry. Yeah!
That's so cute.
Do you want to trade or do you want yours? What? No. Do you want to? That's not cool to trade gifts? We can't.
Because it's reproductive.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I would like to have kids one day.
Okay, great. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much.
They
Look
have
at
those
that.
at places too, and I also got a real lava lamp.
Whoa.
It's in I almost brought it, but it takes like 20 minutes to heat up, but then once it does, it is cool.
Oh, it's good to go.
It is so cool, and I feel like I did. Oh, that's cool.
That's amazing. That's the real deal. You could read so many parsecs with that. Oh my gosh.
Some of the producers got some stuff too. But
Oh, what did the producers get?
Aaron, what did you get?
Kylo Ren mug that like changes color when it heats up.
Color changing
so cool.
Kylo Ren mug where you pour the water in and his shirt goes away and it's just and then you take the water out and he's fully clothed. That's amazing.
It's like every time you see it, you get thirsty.
That's right. Ooh, I'm thirsty. And then Kylo takes his shirt off. That's cool.
And his hands wet. Remember? His hands wet, remember?
Transference of matter.
It was my forehead.
Spoilers. Spoiler.
Just saying.
Uh-huh.
Also,
Guys.
there's a cave. Anyway, a lot of sexual innuendo in that movie.
Yeah, there is. I like the Star Wars. I like Mario too. Thank you so much, Knox. Guys, let's get into it.
Boom.
Okay, we are drinking Girl Dragon in case you're paying
Girl
attention
and
at home.
Dragon.
Girl and Dragon.
She's not a dragon, she's with a dragon.
That's either one is
The
cool.
innuendo on that.
Oh my gosh, that's fine.
I'm going to drink it up.
Girl ampersand dragon. So we have not gotten to the point in the story that we're reading
Knox
today.
just came in and he just missed us opening
He just
it.
missed. Oh, we just missed
You have
it.
to
Sorry.
watch it on the.
Seriously,
Oops,
so cool.
it's on the VOD. It's on the VOD.
VOD.
Next week we're gonna sort ourselves into houses because that hasn't happened yet in the story that we're
Yes.
reading, which is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's
Philosophers!
Stone. Sorcerer's Stone.
Philosophers!
USA! Come on, USA!
I'm already.
What?
I was gonna say sorcerers, but now I'm on the philosopher's side.
Just because I'm
Just
obnoxiously
because you're
American.
being American.
J.K. Rowling is from Britain, and if you want to go authentic,
The original is
Yeah.
the philosopher. Are there any other changes from?
just because I had to dumb it down for America because philosopher was too hard of a word for children.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's not necessarily fair, but like philosopher doesn't mean the same thing.
No, it's a completely different word.
Yeah.
What does
But
it
they
mean
just thought they
in
honestly did think that
proper
children
English? What is a philosopher? A magician? A sorcerer? A wizard?
No, I don't think a philosopher falls onto a magic category.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Then why did they? Really? They really thought we were that dumb?
Philosopher's Stone is what in alchemy makes gold out of things.
Yes.
It's called.
So there are properties
So it's like
that are
actually
magical.
wrong that they call it the
Yes.
Sorcerer's Stone.
But listen, but to be
Cam's
fair,
definitely on
I don't
board
know.
with
I don't think
philosophers
that's a fascinating change, and I don't point to it as going. They thought American audiences were dumber. I truly think that they thought American audiences and even kids wouldn't think that it was magical enough or sexy enough.
Well, it's a children's book at the end of the day. Like,
Yes,
she's
it
written
is.
A children's
And
book,
to
so
me,
philosopher
Gets less.
It's
in. There you go. I made the point. Philosopher science. Philosophizing. Sorcerers.
Yeah. Easy to say, but I think it's like an easier sell. It's just an easier
it's a
sell.
magical stone.
It's more
easier
magical.
pitch.
Yeah, in terms of like just marketing what this is first and foremost.
Yes.
Philosopher, you're like, school.
Right.
Sorcerer, you're like, ooh,
Or
magic.
like alchemy. Like what is this? Like no, he
like
goes
an
to a
alchemist
wizard school.
stone
Yeah.
would be
Right.
even sort of cool.
It would sound cooler. Yeah.
Alchemist, but
There's
again,
a
it's
book
like
called
is it an
The
alchemist
Alchemist.
or an
Mm-hmm.
alchemist.
Lots of
Oh
people
my
read
gosh.
in high school. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
That faces how I feel about that book as well.
Also, I remember Theory tweeted all of us saying, "What is the difference between a wizard, a sorcerer, and a
Oh,
philosopher?"
I remember that tweet. What's the
magician.
what's
Yeah.
the difference?
Well, in D&D terminology,
Please go on.
a wizard, obviously creates magic and has spells, but there's like destructive spells and there's like a healing kind of spell, but it's like spell based. A sorcerer actually turns to spirituality to conduct their magic. Which isn't the case in the Philosopher's Stone either.
No.
I always was kind of bothered, and not just with Harry Potter, but in general, that there's like witch and wizard or witch and warlock, and it was like,
As
why?
like the two genders.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I was just kind of was like,
Which
why
witch?
can't a guy? Yeah,
Why can't a guy be a witch or
yeah.
a girl
It's
be a
always
wizard?
like a warlock, and it's like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, in D&D, I've played a wizard. There's no witches.
Yeah,
Nice.
so there's
There you
because
go.
in that way, like when I think of a witch and a wizard, I do think of
It's a class,
different
not a
things.
gender.
I think of different like they both use magic, but in different ways. Like you think of kind of Merlin
What do you
as
think
a
of
wizard.
when you hear the word Jedi? A man or a woman?
Either.
Exactly.
I hear that.
Oh, really? You go right to Duel of the Fates? But traditionally, it's been dudes, traditionally.
most
but the
part,
fact that
yeah.
Rey is now a thing, I feel like tends to kind of balance it out a little
I
bit.
think
so,
too, unless there's like a rule that says women can't do something, and even in that, growing up, because I read so many things that had male protagonists, I just always imagined
Sure,
that there
it's
were
the
girls
default.
could do that too. Like
right.
a book that we were totally going to read at some point on the show,
The Last Unicorn?
Alana, that was one of the thanks, Erin, where she masquerades as a boy to become a knight. I used to read a lot of stuff
Oh,
like
that's
that
cool.
too, where you kind of
Love Mulan.
get to yeah.
Can we bring the chat back? We lost the chat. That screen went out.
lost
Famous,
the chat.
female witchcraft wizards throughout our childhood.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know in Willow there were
Yeah.
there's a sorceress,
Okay.
and a witch. Or
There's
who was
also the
Willow. Use the wand, Willow.
there's the is it the sorceress in He-Man and the Masters of the Universe? The eagle woman. That's the sorceress. I mean,
The
we have
Witches is one of my
But we got- see, that's-
favorite.
we got tons of witches.
I mean, that's why I am the way I am. It's movies like The Witches and like
Even now, I feel
Never
like my
Ending
childhood.
Story and just yeah,
Yeah.
no.
And like I think just that day someone called my belt
painting.
gross. So I was dealing with a lot.
Oh, that's too
Yeah.
bad.
It was just a plastic.
I think normally
flower.
though, traditionally when we heard the word wizard, we think of like Merlin from like the
Yeah.
Sword in the Stone, that classic archetypal Gandalf, Merlin, or Dumbledore
Dumbledore.
type character with the
Yeah.
old guy with the long white beard, and
I will say that McGonagall, who we get to know
Love
also a
McGonagall.
little bit, I know, I love her so much. She's
She's
kind
great.
of has
Gone,
that.
gone, girl.
hey Maud, let's
my
Maud, let's focus up. Oh, you hadn't seen Gone
I
Girl?
haven't seen it. I watched it.
Oh, you watched it?
Good movie.
Holy-
It's good, right? It's so
Good movie.
good.
I'm like, I don't like this at all.
No.
She's disturbing.
That's right.
She's
Yeah.
so great.
But it's
Good.
like
Rosamund Pike.
you
Rosamund.
gotta be a little impressed with what she, you know.
Of course,
Yeah.
no.
sure.
Oh, 100%.
Uh huh.
It's like bad, but kind of cool.
I wonder if that affected her future relationships. Anyway.
What, that actress or that
Yeah,
character,
Rosamund
that fictional character?
I hope not.
I'm sure Rosamund Pike's fine.
If someone watched that, they're like,
I'm
you know
sure.
what? I'm actually busy next Tuesday.
It's funny because there's a movie that came out called Ingrid Goes West.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it, but I saw people were watching it on the plane during my holiday travels. My girlfriend watched it on the plane during holiday travels, and Elizabeth Olsen's in that and plays a woman who's like classic Instagram famous, you know? But I follow Elizabeth Olsen on Instagram, and she still posts things that are like, look at this plate of food, look at the, you know, like that are very, and I'm like, I guess doing that movie maybe didn't change her, or maybe did it change her
trying to
perception of
figure out the point of the
how to
story.
portray themselves online.
How much of a character
Of
is
a movie,
essence of a person?
how much does a movie affect an actor when they make the
I
movie
think if it's about
versus
being
not?
stalked as someone
Yeah.
who's in a huge franchise, that's probably like small potatoes to her.
Good call.
Because her real life
she's
is
like,
people
she's like, really?
chasing
I'm
her
Scarlet
down.
Witch most of the
Yeah.
time. That's what I deal with. I'm not gonna
And
let.
she grew up with her sisters.
That's
too.
true.
Yeah.
The Olsens. But anyway, guys, let's get a wrinkle on. Let's focus
Let's
back
get a
up.
wrinkle
Let's focus
on.
back
Sorry,
up.
that was me.
Harry
HP.
Potter. Where'd my book go?
Provide 10.
Normally, we're talking about a boy wizard. Thank you, Maud, for providing that tangent. So, in case y'all don't know, and by this point everybody on Earth knows, J.K. Rowling wrote this
Rowling.
book. Rowling.
My
Are
goodness.
you
JK
sure?
100%
Rowling.
Everyone.
One.
Rolling like bowling.
100%.
I feel like you guys have told me it's Rowling
Okay,
before.
stop.
Rolling like bowling.
Okay,
All right,
Rowling.
J.K. Rowling like bowling in 1997 published Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
This is her speaking. This is her speaking
What?
and her name. She's got a great voice as well.
Stand by.
Sorry, she'll talk soon.
Also,
Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling.
Rowling.
Perfect.
Oh, okay,
That's
Rowling.
her saying.
That's a good voice.
That music
J.K.
pales in
J.K.
comparison
Do, do,
to
do.
John Williams'
Go.
score. Oh my God.
Go.
Dun, dun, dun,
Oh.
dun, 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 dun,
Ooh, I'm
dun,
gonna read.
dun,
Okay, I will put that on.
Ba, 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 ba. We can't afford any of that. It is so perfect.
Every time.
It's so perfect. Look, I think that the all-time best movie score and like theme
They're all by John Williams.
is Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think the second best is like the score is probably the Harry Potter
Harry
franchise.
Potter, but
so
then
much
you
fun.
even like
Perfect.
Home Alone. All the
It's
John
perfect.
Williams
Ah,
ones.
Home
Home
Alone.
Alone, you can hear.
Home Alone's great, but
I
it's
went
a
to-
thing where maybe because there wasn't 8 Home Alone movies, but I can't immediately
Yeah.
hum it.
I
have
can.
to,
Oh,
yeah.
I did
Do
see
it.
it recently though.
Yeah. We
Right?
don't do it.
Can't
'cause
afford
we're
it.
not supposed to.
Can't afford it.
Notes, that's it.
Don't.
Yeah, what are the
don't
first 3
do it.
notes?
No more music. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. Very Christmassy. That's great.
Well, I
Yeah.
just on
Johnny Williams is
last
the best.
Friday I went to Universal
Mm-hmm.
in Hollywood to Harry Potter World for the first
I
time.
saw photos.
I saw your Instagram. I
Yeah.
saw your Instagram.
and
clip.
and I got a wand.
Well, it's
and-
too scary.
It's a scary wand.
Who is the actual owner of that one?
It just said Death Eater, and I really didn't want to get a Death Eater one because they're evil.
Carl, the Death Eater.
But,
It's Carl's.
It was so cool. I looked at every other one and I just thought this was so cool and gothy, so I got it anyway. But they play the score throughout the park.
I know.
And you're walking
magic.
around, and I got a frozen butterbeer, and
Oh,
I was
Sam,
with my
put
best.
Fireball in it. What? That's an adults-only conversation, but definitely put Fireball.
We
Do they
were
have Fireball
we
there
no.
at the park, or you sneak that in a little
You
flask?
go to the bar,
Oh.
and you're like, how do we, once we graduated
Flaming
from
Moe's this,
Hogwarts,
yeah.
Damn it, we
Hogs of the
should've-
Walk.
We were thinking, we were like, why didn't we bring a flask? Because it's illegal. Don't do it. But
Yeah. No, at the bar, they help you out with that.
okay, well, I have to go back. But just listening to the music, we were like,
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
just
It's perfect.
freaking
It's
out
perfect.
about
Do they
it.
still do the light show at 9 o'clock? Yes. Yes. Okay. And the ride? Ooh, we can only do that once.
Didn't do the ride because the line was 5 hours.
They took off the 3D thing.
Five.
Why did you go to Universal Studios
Yeah.
on holiday break?
Yeah.
Because that was the time I could go.
Yep. But
And
so
then I got
that's
sick
everybody
the
else
whole
too.
break. That was the first time I was better.
That's such a bummer.
Almost fainted in the pharmacy.
Really?
We've all had
Anyway,
bad
I
times.
I was
I've broken
chugging
down.
Dayquil earlier today. I was feeling a little under the weather, but I was like, I gotta rally because it's Harry Potter time, y'all.
Yes. Yeah.
Harry Potter time.
So, Hector,
Mm-hmm.
if you guys are just joining us,
Hello.
you don't know that this entire book club, all year and
For a year.
3
My
months,
A year.
we've
Over
been
a
trying
year.
to get Hector to read the gosh darn Harry Potter
And
because
I
he's
was like,
never read
and I was
any
like,
of them.
no, never. I only like the movies. No, of course not.
Doesn't watch the movie before reading the book
Yes.
or ignores the book altogether. It would have been, and I think you as well, I read these books before the movies were sold to Warner Brothers.
Impossible.
Yeah. I was,
Impossible.
or I was
I feel like
negative
most people.
12.
Yeah.
I feel like because that's an interesting conversation. So you really because
Yes,
I
that's it.
wasn't aware of how huge these books were until the first film came out.
No.
And I feel like
I got
most
it when I
people
was young.
discovered these books through the film, at least the
I
first
don't
one.
agree. It depends on how old you are, but I don't agree with that at all.
Really?
Yeah.
So you
What was
knew
your
you guys
experience
knew
with it?
about Harry Potter before they ever even made
None
a
of
movie.
my friends did, to be honest.
Wow.
It was
I
I knew
very
if
quiet.
maybe it was my. So what happened was I don't know what year. Do you guys know what year it came out in the U.S.?
Like 1997.
97, I
96,
think.
97.
98,
97
somewhere in
or
there.
98.
I
so
read them in 99.
yeah.
Wow,
so
you were
I
1 year
think
old.
1-year-old.
-12. Yeah.
So I was
In the womb.
it was probably 1998 or 1999, so I was 10 or 11. So I was the
How did you
age.
hear about these?
So my friend, I had two friends. They were brother and sister growing up, who I knew from preschool through elementary school, and their mom was super cool. She's taught grad school for therapists at Antioch University here in Los Angeles. Just like really cool lady, and
Okay. Not a regular mom. She's like a cool mom.
she was so cool, and she
Cool mom.
yeah, not that kind of cool mom.
mom.
Unfortunately, because Amy Poehler is great, but so my dad worked a lot, so I would spend a lot of time with this family when I was with my dad, and she got me the book. And I'd heard about it from one of her
She just got
friends
it
who
for you.
lived. Yeah, because I read. I was
Right,
yeah.
you were the reader.
So she got it for me and was like, I heard this was really good. It was from her friend in the UK, had told her about it, so it was like right when it
Oh
came here.
man.
And her kids read it. But other within the next year or two, other people I knew
the
that
book
were
world.
around my
Were-
age. I mean, I wasn't
yeah.
in a book world when I was 11,
Sure.
but like no.
But it
no
was
one-
already popular within the book world.
Yeah.
If you followed kids' books,
Yeah.
you had
Yeah.
heard about Harry Potter
Yeah.
when it came out. It didn't
Yeah.
take the movie for it to become as
Well, I
famous
think
as it did.
What year did the first movie come out?
2001,
So at least 2 books or 3 had
Yeah.
been out by then, right? 3?
I think.
Three?
I think so.
My introduction with Harry Potter, I was the opposite to you. I wasn't reading at all. And Mum, who is an avid reader, was very disappointed that her daughter was not reading books. So it took me to a bookshop and said, what are all the kids reading? And they're like, you have to read this Harry Potter book. There's 2 of them out. So only had been 2. So Mum bought both of those. And, the shop assistant was like, actually adults are reading these as well. So I was like, great. So I would have it during the day, she would have it at night to read it. And she
wow.
finished it straight away. She's like, come on, where are you up to, where are you up to? It got to the point because she finished it so fast and she was so excited, I would stay up under the,
Yeah.
what do you call it, a duvet? A doona?
No, it's a cover.
A doona.
It's a. I don't know what that word
It's
is.
a doona.
That's cute.
Fine.
I like
but with,
that
with,
one.
with a torch because we didn't have mobile phones.
Also, it's a flashlight, but keep going. That's fine.
A torch would be like a fight, a flame.
torch.
Yes, a torch to us includes a
Torch under my doona.
a flame.
All right. Philosophers, I'm right. And I would read this book until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and
And then go to
I
school the next
failed-
morning?
Yeah, I failed a Japanese assessment because of this book because I made a choice. I was like, do I want to?
Yeah.
But you were
or
like,
do I want
arigato, Mrs.
Yeah.
Rowling, rolling,
Rolling.
like bowling, because that's Japanese for thank you. For
Arigato gozaimasu.
Yeah.
So I actually still know a lot of
Yeah.
Japanese, even though I
You're fine.
failed it hard.
There you go.
Wow.
I tried to pass this book off to all of my friends because I wanted to share it with someone.
Sure.
Yeah.
I lent it to a friend for about 6 months before I was like, can I have it back? Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
not reading it. And it was like covered in like food. She treated it terribly.
No, that's not good.
And all of my friends were like, no one cares about a wizard kid.
until
Cut to 2001.
2001.
And they were like, is this the book? I was like, yeah. Yeah, this is.
Okay, I have a question. So, this is really embarrassing.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
it's
gonna
not
get
that
good.
embarrassing, but it's just funny because I have recently rewatched the movies, not the later ones, so I'm excited to do kind of reread, watch the movie,
Yep.
and I'm going to do each book after
I
this.
did it all.
But so 2001 was at an all-girls school, was in like 6th grade or something, and the boy that everyone loved from the first movie was Oliver Wood.
Yes!
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
Is
so
that the
sorry.
beater? He's the beater? Yeah.
He's
the
captain.
Oh, okay, right.
He was the keeper.
Oh,
And
he was a keeper. Okay. Yeah.
He had
And I
great
watched
eyes.
it. I went to the Hollywood Bowl and watched it last summer.
Eyes in the movie.
And he's
Blushing.
so, honestly, he's so young too. He's like 12, but I watched it and I was like, oh my. And people had his poster in their lockers and it was like a whole, was a whole thing.
Oliver Wood
What was your
and
question?
Oliver did.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
there were.
What was your question? Did you have a question, Rachel, or did you
I
just
just
want to
wanted
share?
to know if it was just an all-girls
he was
school thing
so
or
good
everyone
looking.
thing.
Oh no, I remember
So
that.
good looking.
Yeah.
Was he in any of the other movies?
And he had like a little bit of a.
No, right?
think-
Because his
no.
character would have graduated the next year, so he was
Yeah,
gone.
I don't think he is.
Oh, he wasn't 12. Okay,
He's in
so
the
he
books
was
a
like
lot.
he was
well,
like
that's
17
a
or
case
something.
that in the movies, as you'll see when you read all of these, they get the sort of a lot of it. Actually, I think the first movie is pretty close to the book, but there are certain characters and like moments that don't make it into the movie that I think
Lee
are
Jordan's white. in the
really
book.
great.
Of course.
yeah, that's true.
That makes sense.
I
Yeah.
liked that change they made in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I actually much prefer movie Lee Jordan.
And speaking of just the section that we read,
Yeah.
because I just rewatched the first movie and then started reading the book, listening to the score. I get why they like basically.
What are you laughing about?
What are you laughing about?
I watched the movies again recently. I read the books every year. I remembered after watching the first movie about Oliver Wood.
Okay.
And I Googled him to see what he was up to these days.
What's he up to these days, Maud?
I think he's just doing some theatre in London.
And you
but
got tickets?
No, not yet.
Okay, great. Okay, great.
I forgot. Anyway, that's Madame Pomfrey on the screen.
Madame
Everyone, that's
Pomfrey.
so cool. Up, there you go. Whoa, wow. He says, you know, that's a great distraction. How good's Madame Pomfrey? That's really good casting. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's move on with the start. Of
Who's Madame Pomfrey?
Are you kidding?
We're not there yet.
Isn't that Pomfrey?
Oh
That's-
yeah,
that's
Pomfrey's
Pooch.
in
Pooch sounds like a naughty word.
it
Pooch
does.
is the nickname of my good friend, actor Alex Puccinelli. Pooch. He's awesome.
Are people
that's
saying
a-
their favorite characters?
We're already there.
Peeves.
Peeves, Luna.
Luna. I love
Guys, I don't
Luna.
know any of these characters yet. We've
will.
met 3 characters so
Okay,
far.
so what do you think about the
My favorite
Dursleys?
character is Mr. Dursley. That's all we've met so far. You guys got to pace yourselves, okay? We're not there yet. Wait at least until next section.
Lupin.
What I was going to say was comparing. You cannot help but compare book to movie. I want to
Yes.
know what you guys were thinking in
I had
2001.
very different. I think
In
some of the castings-
2001, when you went to go see the movie.
Oh, I was
having
very
read the
verbal,
book.
very vocal in my cinema, especially when I saw the Weasley twins. I was
Oh, because
so
they're supposed to
angry.
be hot.
No, they're supposed
Sorry.
to. Well, they're also supposed to be shorter and stocky.
Okay.
And so I saw them and I was like, oh. And no one in the theater had obviously read the books, and here I am being like, wow,
It's
that's
just
just
like-
not. It's not how it is in the books. It's not how, as a book reader.
That's a big.
You
I
guys-
think this
you
movie
guys-
was a big one that started
can't wait
me
to
on the path of acceptance towards book to film adaptations
Okay.
because you can never be satisfied.
Yeah.
But you were happy. You
They
guys
were
were happy with
supposed to
the
be hot.
with the
They're
movie.
supposed to be real
I
cool.
always thought that they were just like because they were troublemakers
fascinating.
and they're
But like muscly.
yeah beefier dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're beaters.
And I think they're great
Okay,
in the
all right.
film. Oh my god, I think they're great in the film.
I think that they're real young in that first movie.
But I
think
was
that
young
all
too.
the-
That's
all
the
the
thing
actors
is,
are,
I
like,
was a
real
left-
green,
I was
real
a-
green.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's
You got
it's
dirt
a
Yeah.
on your nose,
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
trust me.
Yeah, they get way better.
Almost expelled.
Yeah, real bad.
She's no. She hasn't gotten
Blimey.
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, boy.
Moody and the Beast.
But
So you guys liked the
I
movie
was
when it came
11
out?
I was
'Cause you were
11
11.
when this book came, or ish, when I started reading them. And so I aged with them.
Same.
books.
I was the
With
same
the
age
books,
as Harry,
yeah.
Prisoner of Azkaban.
And then I would go to see that. So I saw the first movie, and I loved it because it's very similar. I think there were some casting things where you're like, that's not quite right. But I already loved Alan Rickman because I watched a lot of like
Die Hard.
romantic movies.
Romantic movies.
With Sense and Sensibility.
Love Actually.
I just like the sound of his
It wasn't out
voice.
yet?
Oh, maybe
Okay.
it was, but I don't think I saw
Sure.
that one. But
Too adult.
From Sense and Sensibility, because I read those books when I was younger. So my mom and I
Galaxy
watched those
Quest.
movies.
We all loved
So
Alan
glad I
Rickman.
think
Yes,
funny.
I love. So I loved them as they go on. They remove and change things, and that's where I would get a little. But it's almost like
Because the books
you
get
have to
bigger.
look at them as two different things.
I like some fun facts that are happening
Oh,
in the
that's
chat.
good.
No, Ms. Bigham, who I haven't seen in the chat before, so hello.
Hello.
Fun fact, James and Oliver Phelps, who obviously play the twins, skipped school to audition for Fred and George.
Awesome, good for them.
Best thing they
Good
ever
choice,
did. Guys,
yeah.
skip school.
Good for them, yeah.
If there's an audition that you want to get.
But I feel like by the time the final films came out, which
Yeah.
by that point I was, I'll have to get a picture for next time. Because I had blonde hair and I dressed up as Luna Lovegood. Yeah.
That's
I
right.
used to have blonde hair.
Yeah.
But I would go with friends and we'd all dress up. And
Yeah.
by that point, I had kind of established like book Harry and movie Harry are very different to me by
Sure.
the end. Book Ron is very different, I
I
think.
think that he did a pretty good job.
I think they did a good job. I just
only-
mean the way they're written. I feel like
And more importantly,
is
it's
a
the
little
way
different.
you interpret
Yes.
the characters.
I interpreted them
So-
differently, but I love them both for what they are.
Yeah, because when you're reading a book, Which comment should we be?
Just more of like who's here for their first year.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
2018.
Oh,
Whose very first
yay.
book club is this?
Welcome.
All right, we have to do shout outs. Sorry, this is so exciting that we've got new people in the chat for Alpha Book Club. It is an absolutely amazing show. I'm so stoked that we've got Harry Potter in for your first month. We've got Algernon. Am I saying that right? You'll correct me. I'll blame it on my
Algernon.
accent.
Stardust?
And Tilly McTimbers.
Tilly McTimbers? I love that name.
Yay.
And then we got
is so
DeMarco
cool.
Draws and Lost in Numbers and Knox and all the regulars.
Can we
Okay, great.
not be shy in the chat? I read them all, and I love getting to know you guys there as well. Is Librarian Liz a new one? That sounds like new.
Yeah.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, Liz.
Yeah, so
I agree. Oda Fidi says they are two different things for sure. You have to accept that the films will never be able to satisfy the books completely. The books have the ability to flesh out every tiny thing, and films
Yes.
only have so much time to tell
Which
the same
is
story.
why I am so excited that Hector is reading the book,
Yeah.
because you
Yes.
get like the extended
that's what it
DVD
is.
specials.
For better or worse, because I love the films, and the first one I think is such a great kids movie. And as they get as they keep going, they get darker and they get better for me. I love Prisoner of Azkaban. That's my favorite.
That's my favorite.
But that
That's
first,
my favorite book and movie.
it's so interesting because I just assumed that everybody had like jumped on the train as soon as the movies became a thing, and then it became a pop culture phenomenon. I think it's so interesting and makes perfect sense for you two that of course you guys read the books before these movies came out.
This book
But I feel
my life.
I believe it, and I feel like maybe most people who have read Harry Potter heard about the movies first. Well, have seen a movie first,
I
and
would
then
love
That's
to
what
know
interesting.
if
Let's
that,
go
chat.
Yeah.
Let us know if you read the book first.
Which one
if you
was
read
first?
it before the movie came out. Anyone in the room? Do you guys remember?
because I know too that like I'll give you an example. my
Double
got it right.
Dummy is an Aussie.
nice,
I have an ally.
very nice.
I got it right too with
You
Algernon.
did. But my good buddy, my roommate Keller Knobloch, was a guy who went to go see the first Harry Potter movie and the day that he went to go see it was his 11th birthday.
Wow.
So that was for him the thing, and he aged with the movies, but also read the books. And then he would read the books. He was being raised in a very religious household and couldn't read them at his dad's house. But then when he was at his mom's house, he would like secret read them and then sort of keep it a secret. And that's how he was with the books. But I just assumed that as soon as the movies started coming out, the fact that the books were ahead of the movies, the kids were going to the midnight releases of the books, reading book 7 when movie 3 was coming out or whatever
I went
it
to
was.
all of those
Books
too.
first, books first before the movie.
Wow, I read
Yes,
all the
saw.
books before the movies. That seems impossible too, because like at least the first movie was out after the 3rd book or something. Like that seems
Yeah.
Maybe not want to watch the movie.
with the frequency that they're on TV. Like, just
Yeah.
like it's impressive that
Books
somebody could
first,
have avoided
movie first, movie
a Harry
first for
Potter
Stardust.
movie and been like, I'm going to commit to reading 7 huge books and then I'll watch a 2-hour movie. That's
Desert
crazy to
Shadow
me.
read the book after the first movie, and is it Grey? What was it? Grey Ghost? Grey?
Yes, read books before movies. Way to
Another
go, Knox.
Aussie, but spell Aussie with one S. So are you really? Or are you Grey Ghost? Yeah, Aussie too. OC.
Okay. OC2.
Yeah.
The movies weren't
So-
even announced yet.
So
Wow.
honestly, it sounds like it's about. I'm going to say 85% have read the
Books, yeah, for sure.
Welcome to
because
book club.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
because it's a book club and we're talking to readers.
Yeah.
first.
And readers, of course, are probably going to hear about a movie.
Well, and this was the reason that this fandom is so huge, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk more about it. I guess this time is a really good time to talk about it because we've been talking about.
The origin of the book.
Well, so this is a big one for I think getting kids into reading. It's a
Yeah.
good like gateway
Big
book.
time.
That's exactly.
Yeah, and it opens up this world to you, but it also puts you in this. It does that thing that we've talked about where you have to have the character who is new to something. You don't have to, but it helps to have a character who's new to an environment.
So you're learning
So
it for the
they're
first time with
experiencing
them.
it because you
And
are
Harry
putting
Potter
yourself.
is one of the best.
Yes, and
Well,
you're,
and
it's the
actually-
hero's journey as
Yes.
well.
The chosen one, the orphan boy.
Yes.
which
The
is,
Mary
like,
Sue
huge
/
trope.
Gary Stu. And I feel like me
I don't
reading
like
this,
that one.
it's
I like chosen one better.
it's part of it, but I think that
Those just have a negative connotation.
it does.
Yeah.
It does, but it's not. If you compare the world of Harry Potter and the story specifically, not the world, but the story of Harry Potter, it definitely leans on the chosen one. It definitely leans on you're the person reading this book and you don't know anything about the world, but you're the most special, most important since you don't even remember because you were the boy who lived. And there's all of this fate
There's
and
a
destiny.
prophecy, yeah.
But the difference is that reading at least these first 4 chapters, I think that Rowling is doing a really good job of justifying it. Does that make sense? I think she's doing a really good job of
she
justifying
also-
it, which is a story cheat effectively, but I'm like, well, you're doing a good job.
Without giving it away, because you have seen the movies, but she does
Yeah.
also kind of flip that idea on its head a little bit as you get later into the
Yes,
story.
yeah.
And
The
those
the-
expectations.
The prophecy
Yes.
has a grey line.
Yes.
That's, yeah, that's good.
Which I find interesting. But one
It's
of the
not so cut
things
and
that
dry.
kind of ties into the first 4 chapters is, there's a heavy through line of the Dursleys' abuse of
Yeah.
Harry.
This is actual child abuse.
It's
Like,
child abuse, yeah.
If Docs came in,
Yeah, it is. It's cartoony.
And
It's
but-
cartoony, but it's still real enough
for kids,
to go
I
like,
think
that sucks.
It becomes
Yeah.
cartoony because I think that's another element that I feel like a lot of honestly not all of them, but some fans identified with that, and that's
Neglect?
certainly
Of
a part that's part of it. And I
Cool.
think we've talked about Johnny Depp on the show because of
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts and Murder on the Orient Express and all of that. But I think the fandom has reacted so strongly to him being cast in Fantastic Beasts because of the allegations against him for his wife. And I think the reason it hits so hard is because this series is all about this kid who has suffered from something,
Yep.
overcoming it.
That's very true.
And that decision to put that person in there is such a heavy thing. So I feel like even though it is cartoonish in here,
It is.
he lives in it like they treat him like trash.
I don't see it as cartoony.
It is very cartoony, and it's for me that
think-
it's cartoony in the dialogue.
Is it the tone?
It's the tone. It's the fact that they're
thought it was
also
horrible
painted
when I
as
was a kid.
very caricature-y, like piggish and oafish and big and overweight, and
Yeah.
like
His
there's a lot
moustache,
of a lot of descriptions about their physicality and just being like
There's
like
no neck and horse.
the
basically.
the no neck and horse and the obscenely over the top, like last year I had 37 presents and this year it's only 36. Like it's very exaggerated, and it seems as if it's from the perspective of Harry, but to Harry it's real. So that means to us it's real. For me it's exaggerated also because I have the amazing actors who played
Yeah.
his aunt and uncle in the films that do such a good job
They do.
of riding that line of like being very cartoony, but then even in the movies, get to the scene where Hagrid finally shows up and the aunt, she's like, "Oh, my perfect sister."
I
and there's
heard
so
it
much,
when I read it, I
Yeah,
heard her.
There's
I
so
can see her
much.
face, actually, every
there-
dialogue.
Every dialogue. There's so much like great little insecurity that's for me that I was picking up on when I rewatched the movie and read this section. I'm like, okay, this makes sense to me where these characters are coming from, how they could hate the wizard so much to justify.
Abusing your child.
To justify, not to justify that, but to justify like why J.K. treats what she calls humans muggles, and then why she has her characters, Hagrid and all the rest of the characters, look down on specifically these two, but they kind of are representatives of the Muggle world, and Muggle is essentially like it's like an inflammatory, it's a derogatory term. It's a derogatory term for sure. The way that they use Muggles, the way that Hagrid uses Muggles when he shows up, maybe because it's just the aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting that the first few chapters is very black and white.
is a
It's very
segregated
cut and dry.
term.
It's a very
You don't know
segregated
what we
term.
know.
Exactly.
You're a Muggle.
And J.K. uses these human characters that are again the most exaggerated, over the top, abusive, to kind of get you to go
Villainous.
like, oh, let's send Harry to this magical world, as opposed to like if he had an aunt and uncle that were like compassionate. And then Hagrid showed up, is like, you got to go to wizard school. And an aunt and
You're
uncle would be like,
kidnapping our-
hang on a second. We're raising him. He's going to this school. Like, he's been raised as a human. But there's none of that. It's just, it's very cut and dry. The
Well,
dude
it
has a
had to be
shotgun
the worst thing ever.
to get
So
him to go.
anything would be
the best thing
Yeah,
ever.
you would go with a stranger who
Yeah.
flew in on a motorcycle
Which
and
is
dropped out of the air.
insane.
Yeah.
But this,
But
the
it's-
boy who had been beating him up his entire life
Exactly.
becomes a pig in front of him. Well, a little
Exactly.
tail, like,
Little tail. And the idea too that like it's not scary to Harry because he's had these little wizard moments happen in his life, unexplained moments,
snake.
which is so great, so brilliant. The snake. Here I come, Brazil, or whatever.
Yeah.
He slithers away. And then the idea too that like J.K. puts this in chapter 2, I think. Harry wakes up from a dream of a flying motorcycle.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
he's
A
almost like
recurring dream.
he's like biologically, because of his blood, used to the wizarding world.
Yes,
but-
They're even without the nurture, there's still a little bit of nature in him
Yeah.
to be like, I am a wizard.
But I will say that there are more characters down the line who come from all different kinds of families where there are derogatory terms aimed at people who come from Muggle families.
Mudblood.
Yep, mudblood. Well, I know about that. Yeah.
And or
And there's hierarchies
or
and different things within
in-
the wizarding world itself.
like
sure.
in Muggle wizard relationships and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think someone in the chat pointed out it's very Cinderella.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Cinderella syndrome. I believe
Cinderella
was used.
syndrome,
Yeah.
yeah. And you also have sort of, I love the introduction to this, and think in the film they start with just Dumbledore, and you just watched it, right?
Yes,
Down the
it
street.
is.
with
The opening is the prologue instead of chapter whatever it was, because it's like chapter 1 isn't. Or
It
no,
starts
maybe it is.
with the Dursleys. You introduce
yeah,
the
being
Dursleys
observed
first.
I say
by
Dursley.
McGonagall for like
say
a,
what?
for like a whole day.
Dursley?
Dursley?
Yeah, softer S, I guess.
Dursley
Yeah.
instead of Dursley.
And you have, I mean,
And then he
this
drops
book
the
had
kid
me
off.
from the get-go because McGonagall turns into a cat.
Yep.
Yeah.
and
was
back
like,
into a
that's
cat.
my
and,
dream.
And then from cat to human.
I actually
which is
had a
great.
Mrs. McGonagall at my high school, so every time I read, so every time
So you had
she was
a
my,
human
she was my
McGonagall?
house leader as well, and my house was green.
Slytherin.
So you guys have, okay.
We had houses.
You have
we
houses.
had houses.
Oh, that's
I was
really
in
cool.
Osborne.
It was a foreign concept to us.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's so
we had houses, but she was my house leader, and she was Mrs.
That's
McGonagall.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I was Professor McGonagall, I pictured her, who was a lot younger with brunette hair.
Was it, did you go away to school? Or did you go home every day?
I went home every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But we did have a boarding school.
You had a-
in our high school.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
They were
for
boarders.
years, I mean, when I was 11, I was like,
Oh, this is a magical.
where
Yeah.
is my letter?
Yes.
Where is it? And then even when I went to middle school, I was like, maybe it's a middle school. Like, I
Yeah.
knew it wasn't, but like in my head, I would be like,
What
it's a middle
it-
school. And then I went to high school and I was like, and
sucks.
and even going into college, like my friends and I would joke and I'd be like, maybe it's a college.
Maybe yeah. Maybe it's a
we
grad
had,
school thing.
Where's my letter?
We had school uniforms, we had houses.
I had
Wow.
uniforms, but none of the other fun stuff.
We had, so the house groups that you're in, we would compete,
Mm-hmm.
obviously not in Quidditch, but we competed in swimming carnivals, sports carnivals, and
You get points and stuff? Did you decorate with house colors and stuff?
Wow.
I've never
And-
been more jealous of anything.
We thought
we had Choral Fest as well, where we would have singing.
we thought J.K. Rowling was just the most amazing writer who's just making a bunch
just
of
the UK.
whimsical shit up. It's
And
just the UK.
Australia, yeah.
It's just that's all it is. It's
guys
every
don't have
other
sports
every other
houses.
school around the world except the United States. Scroll up a little bit because Lee's got a great comment.
I'm not
He-
a Slytherin just because I was green in high school.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You're not a
I'm a
Slytherin if you don't
Slytherin.
say you are.
Not a
Slytherin, eh?
I'm not a
Scroll down a little
Slytherin.
bit. Go down. Lee posts, reading Harry Potter can lead to kids being more understanding and empathetic of marginalized members
Yes.
of
Yes.
society.
Yes.
And there's
It's a Nerdist link.
a Nerdist link right there. So check
Written
that
by
out,
Mikey
guys. That's
Walsh,
pretty
who
awesome.
Writes a lot about Harry Potter. Yeah, because you deal with empathy. It's got puzzles in it. There's all sorts
Class
of different
systems.
things. Yeah.
Absolutely. I still think that, and so far, of course, because of the abusive uncles, but like rewatching the first movie and getting into this book, I still think that like adults in this story, in this iteration of the story, for me so far, are like, you guys should be more forthcoming with kids. Like it's frustrating what the
Tell 'em
what
what's
the
going
adults say or don't say to kids.
Get ready for
I hate that.
all the other books,
I hate that.
man.
I hate
Oh my
that.
God.
I mean, the aunt and uncle say don't ask questions, but even then, even Hagrid, even Dumbledore, even these adult figures that Harry Potter will eventually grow to like love and rely on, they still will like
they
keep shit
all
from him, and it's like
They all do.
it's so
Yeah, they
frustrating.
all do.
With the
So-
decision, and McGonagall going, don't send this boy in this family. It is the worst thing that you can do. And he's like, no, it is the best.
It
I kind of
challenges-
agreed with Dumbledore's perspective of him being
But
like
he
he's
did
not going to
put
be
a
super
child
famous.
into an abusive household.
Yes, and they
And-
should have
and
like
he
they should have
knew
checked on him
for
more
years.
I would
often.
have, if I was Dumbledore, I would have been threatening them, being like, is it
Yeah.
up to scratch? Because that
Yeah.
didn't happen until the second or third book.
But
Right.
then it's,
Where he
but
gets his
then
own
it's
room.
also this idea that
He's forgotten.
going into later books and in the films as well, that
Everything gets
there's
more
some-
gray.
There's yes, and there's something to be said for Dumbledore. He's this hero to everyone, but he's still a person.
Yeah.
And
Makes
he's still
mistakes.
making decisions based on an agenda that we don't really understand until
Which
the
is
very
very
end.
prevalent in the last few
Yeah.
books.
I'm
where you're so
already-
frustrated with
I'm
this guy.
relating
It's so
him-
You get really frustrated with him
Yeah.
later, and
Yeah.
part of that
Yeah.
is almost like Harry it's sort of like if you go through something difficult
Mm-hmm.
at any point in your life and you think back, you're like, okay, if that didn't happen to me, I would be a totally different person.
Right.
And it feels almost like he has to which is fucked up. Yes, that Dumbledore thinks that he has to suffer
Yeah, to learn.
to
Right.
learn how to be a good person, to have empathy
Yeah.
because he has compassion for other people because he suffered.
I am already comparing Dumbledore a little bit to one of my favorite characters in comics, Professor Charles Xavier, the headmaster
Yeah.
of the Xavier Institute, for higher learning for gifted students, because he's another character too. Professor X is a character that has made decisions in his history that's like good and bad, and he's done it for the betterment of his students. And yet, his students, when they grow up, they look back and they go, Professor Xavier, what the hell were you thinking when you did this thing? You shouldn't have done that. And he was like, well, I know, but I did it for the greater good, and I made mistakes. And a really interesting sort of flawed character. The same with like Cyclops from the X-Men. Anyway, that was my thing when I was 13. I was like, where are my mutant powers? Where are they? I hit puberty. Come on, give me some powers. What am I going to be able to do?
All the shitty stuff. Where's the?
Yeah, the
It's
good
my watch
stuff.
that's not here.
Gotcha.
So
That's
is
your
hair
watch.
on your arm.
So yeah,
That puberty.
I
that
never
we all
read,
went through.
never read these never read these books. Is where I'm at. The first time I'm reading them, and because I know the films, I am treating this like an extended cut of the movies.
Yeah.
But there's also a side of me that is, especially with these first 4 chapters, frustrated at the pacing, because I'm like, I don't want to spend a whole chapter with Vernon Dursley or whatever. I'm like, let's go. I know
It's
his
only 4
character.
chapters.
I know.
And it's such a quick read, and you
It's
can breeze
really-
through. So what happens
is.
in these chapters? Let's go through it. As a
Yeah.
baby, Harry Potter is dropped off with his aunt and uncle by Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall, who can turn into a cat, which is Rachel's favorite thing. They talk about Voldemort finally being gone. Now
Voldemort.
let's chat about that, because I've already blitzed it with Rowling. It's supposed to be Voldemort.
Now, did J.K. say that?
Yeah.
So why did she let a movie get made incorrectly?
Because
It's a
America
silent
and money.
T.
It's their UK films. They're British films.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
American
that's true.
films.
They're
Are they?
no, they're British.
they're
It's
British
technically
films.
it's Warner Brothers is the
Warner Brothers,
distributor, but it's
yeah.
a co-production between the US and the UK.
I think again it was too hard for children. Why they put
Hermione.
Hermione in?
Hermione.
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 4 books.
Yeah,
Hermione.
when they said Hermione in the movie,
You're like,
yes,
oh.
you're like,
Victor Crumb, yeah. Oh, Hermione, and I was like, oh my god. Yeah. This whole
JK
time.
has actually put on Twitter that the reason she did it, she wanted it to be a French name like Voldemort, but once people started talking about it, it became such a colloquial that they pronounced the T. She just said that either.
She just let it go. She said either one's fine,
So
interesting.
she
just an
definitely wanted it
accent
to be
thing.
Voldemort.
like
yeah,
a French
he feels like
guy.
a scary French monster, you
Voldemort.
know.
Tom
He
Riddle.
feels like Ralph Fiennes to me.
God,
What do you
he's
say? Do you
Rafe-
say
Rafe
Voldemort
Fiennes. Rafe Fiennes.
or
Rafe
Voldemort?
Absolutely say Voldemort.
Put T
I don't-
or no T in the chat.
Oh wow! Did
Now.
other? Oh wow! Yeah, I was full on Voldemort. But
I'm Team T for sure.
Another fun thing
Because
about
Voldemort sounds more like a evil villainous thing as
That
opposed
is
to like
true.
a French person.
I was Voldemort for so long, and when
Yeah.
she said actually the T is silent, I was like, I felt betrayed. But if that's how she wants it, that's how she
There's a
get
similar
it.
thing in comic books. Batman villain Ra's al Ghul is also
Oh, yeah,
pronounced
Ra's
Ra's
al
al
Ghul,
Ghul.
yeah.
Danny O'Neill, the creator, is like, you know what? Either way's fine. I don't give a shit. Like
Yeah, I
he's
know.
like,
In
who
Arrow,
cares?
they're saying race.
Who cares?
Race
don't
and
like-
Raz. Yeah. So they talk about Voldemort.
But
Mm-hmm.
in this part, one of the things that I love about Harry Potter, whether or not because I know Rowling mapped out a lot of the book, but there are characters dropped that
Yep.
become.
Sirius
I mean,
Black.
you see Sirius Black,
There's
but also
already a Sirius Black reference in the
Daedalus
first
Diggle.
4 chapters.
There are a bunch of people.
The what were the
and
wizards that
moments and
were
characters.
struck down?
Diggle comes in later, I think, in the Ministry.
Yep.
What were the names of the wizards, the wizard families that were struck down? The McKinnons, the Bones, the Pruitts.
Yes,
Is
there are
what
those,
is what
yeah.
Hagrid says, and I was like, I bet you those characters will come back later in the
they
book.
Do. Yeah, she's so good like that.
And in each
Yeah.
book, there are crumbs, Victor Crumbs,
Is that Crumb or Crumb? Don't even. I'm done.
and kernels of characters and moments and things that seem like they're one thing, and then
Yes.
the layers are revealed later, which I really love.
I can already tell that as somebody reading this for the first time, but I can also, I so appreciate the good adaptation that was that first movie at least, where I'm like reading the first 4 chapters and I go, I totally understand every single decision for what was omitted essentially to be put into the movie. I'll give you an example. Dudley's friend character.
Yeah.
that goes with them to the zoo. I was like, oh, great. Yeah, that's an easy cut. That's an easy cut.
Gone. Yeah.
So I just appreciated why certain things were, even in the first 15 minutes of the movie or 10 minutes or whatever, like fast forwarded to
Or
get you to where you were.
Even the book starts with Mr. Dursley.
Yeah, I'm like
seeing
cutting
wizards.
that
You don't
to
need
just
to see
going
any
right
of
to
that.
McGonagall telling Dumbledore, like, these are the worst kinds of muggles. I've seen them all day. It was like, great. That was a whole chapter that we didn't have, but, you know, it's,
You don't
yeah.
appreciate knowing more?
I do, but I'm also glad that the movies are the movies.
What?
Here's my fear. Here's my fear. My fear is that 10 years from now, the same way that they're doing with Watchmen right now,
Oh yeah.
10 years from now, Warner Brothers with this cash cow of Harry Potter is going to go, you know what, let's do a TV show on HBO and let's do each chapter as an episode.
If you go-
That's my fear, because I'm like, I won't need Mort then. Well, I'll have had I'll have had enough. They're different things. I
Well,
don't
that's
want
what
them.
Fantastic Beasts is supposed to be. New era, new area.
Which is
I would
better. I
love-
prefer that.
I
But
would
then,
I would love
No
to
one
see
cares.
a TV show adapted from the books personally, and we have an article on Nerdist from I think 2015 that says that's
Here's
all
why,
about
making
why
a
we
case
should
for
do
it.
that.
Maybe
'Cause I think
my
books should
mind will be
TV.
changed.
I think books should almost
I
always
agree,
be TV.
except for in the case of you've already had an 8-film series that is phenomenal.
I know. I
and
don't mean now, but like
Lord of
in
the
30
Rings, same
years.
thing. Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
Three
no, that's
amazing
dumb.
3-hour movies, and,
Don't do
like
that.
Amazon's going to do a TV show, and I'm like, listen, I get that we all love the
Game of
world,
Thrones.
but I don't
No,
need
I
to
think
see every
that's-
sentence put up on screen, because in the case
Those
of
movies were
especially,
long.
thank
Those
you.
movies are long, but Harry Potter, when you get into the later books, they're missing a lot
I'm
of
sure.
characters and things that I feel like.
Yeah, I can't.
And
Yeah, because I
know,
you know,
and-
my plan, guys, is I'm going to knock one of these books out a month on top of whatever we're reading for
very cool.
Alpha Book
Nice.
And
Club.
you'll do
Okay,
it
so-
easily. And
Can we
it'll be-
check in and
it's-
talk
Yeah.
about them
Of
on
course.
Alpha Book Club?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll
Guys,
give you another
it's-
check-in. I picked up a book over the break, the Rose and Paige Tico
Oh, yeah.
centric
I just
Star
got that.
Wars book. I'm
have
about
that.
to read that. I picked up the first 4 Lemony Snicket books
Oh,
based off
nice.
of what we read here, so I'll keep you guys posted for that
I
stuff.
finished
but
the other 2 books in the Annihilation trilogy over the break.
Ooh,
Yeah, good
satisfactory
luck.
or
That
no?
can happen.
I'm gonna wait till the movie.
Definitely wait till the movie.
I'm gonna wait till the movie to decide if I'm gonna do books 2 and 3, because I'm fine at 1 right
Definitely
now.
wait till the movie.
Okay.
I want to talk to Stephen about those
What is this?
books.
Sorry, I
That's
don't know
great.
what book this is. I'm
What
up to
book?
book 4 of the Dresden Files.
Ooh, nice.
I've
Oh,
heard
you're
very good
almost
things
to
about
where I
that.
stopped, so I'll pick it up.
Oh, it's so good.
I think Summer Night is the one.
What did I
No, it
just
was Summer Night. I think is the one.
Summer Night.
Summer
That's what I'm up to.
Is that the one with the samurai? No, I read past
Chap-
that.
Tell
One of the-
me
chapter
more.
1 of
Tell me
Summer
more.
Night. I have also read The Assassin's Blade, which is
how was
from
that?
the
Book 2.
The
Game of Thrones
no,
book.
No,
No.
Throne of Glass.
Throne of
series.
Glass.
Oh,
What?
nice.
It's the novella that's like the before story, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like a prequel, I guess. But that series is tight.
I love
Loving
it.
That one.
Odie Fidi says there are entire storylines that were dropped because of the time crunch with the
Yes,
films.
yes,
and
there
that's
are
what
a
I'm
lot.
so interested in, because again, I look at those movies and I'm like, I think they tell the story.
Oh my god,
but
you're
I don't
gonna
know
meet
what
actual Hermione, not movie Hermione. Actual
yeah.
I like
Hermione's
movie
like,
Hermione.
That's how I feel about Harry, though, a little bit.
I have no idea what you guys are
Harry, I
talking
feel
about.
like, is a
Oh,
little-
that makes sense to me, because listen, Daniel Radcliffe's great, but like
how my
I
author
don't like
said
Harry Potter as a character. I don't like him.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
So, Java Book Geek Girl, I love this because it's in the style of the book titles. Alpha Book Club segment, Hector Navarro and the Harry Potter updates.
I love
We'll
that.
do
I
it.
love it so
We'll do it. Chapter
I
2.
cannot
yeah.
tell you how many times I have read this series.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have read them so many times.
Although I haven't in the past few years, so I'm really excited. But
listened
I
to them
used to go
this
to
year.
the midnight
Yeah.
book releases. I remember I read the 6th book. I stayed up all night and then all the next day, and I read it in my kitchen with like a tiny little light.
I read the last book in one sitting.
Yeah.
I did not stop until I'd read it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
How many hours
Because
did that take?
because people were
17.
showing up
17 hours straight?
at the yes.
Yeah.
People
I
were
started
showing up at the
9.
book releases and shouting out.
I was so
spoilers.
obsessed. I was so obsessed.
That's
But
crazy.
this book
17
is
hours
so
straight.
fun and easy and wonderful to read, and it was at oh my god.
It takes like
I
20
wept
hours to
when I
do like
finished the
every
series.
Harry Potter movie in a row. That's crazy.
I've
17
done that
for-
too.
Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
did that hungover on
I'm
New
impressed.
Year's last year.
Wow. What,
I
all the
fell
Harry
as-
Potters?
I remember in
I fell
I
asleep
can't wait.
during
Winter-
two because
I
that's
feel
a bad
I feel
movie.
right now like regular people who don't understand why Batman versus Superman was bad when I try to explain it to them.
oh no, that's
As
a
I'm
bad
sure
movie.
as I'm sure you guys feel Or like I feel right now like regular people when they're like, no, the Fantastic Four movies were okay, versus how you guys feel.
No.
You're like, you don't know real Hermione, you don't know real Harry.
I feel like there's a difference
because I feel like I know
don't
real
feel like
Fantastic
those are
Four
Real
and I know
Hermione
real
looks like a
Superman.
beaver with hair.
There's no way. That can't be.
She's
the
got big
description.
old teeth, and she's average, and she's got bushy hair. She's not good looking.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling
That's true.
will
That's true.
describe her a certain way, and Maud runs away with it, saying she looks like a beaver with hair.
She does.
For shame.
Wait till
For
you meet
shame.
her. They're very mean to her.
She's
This is fascinating. This is great.
sorry, but like, when I pictured her as well, I was like, listen here, guys, I'm pretty upset. She's got anyway. You'll meet her.
Kids are goofy looking but cute.
But that
So
makes
was I.
I know, but that makes them aging and what
they
happens
get
between
hotter
them
and
in
hotter.
the later books more important to the characters.
I
It's
see.
character development because
So you're saying they shouldn't have cast these hot little 12-year-olds in that first movie? They were already too hot,
I
is
don't
what you're
like
saying.
that term
That's what
at
you're saying, no? You're saying? Daniel Radcliffe?
I don't know
She's
if
a
I
minor.
would say
Let's not use
the
hot ever
hot
when discussing
maybe
a minor.
like
Okay. All right. I'm saying kids are goofy
Cute.
looking.
Well, you
Maybe.
can't
Oh, boy.
magically shrink teeth.
I don't think Ron Weasley aged very well.
You can grow into them.
You mean Ed Sheeran?
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. There's a question here in the teleprompter. Hector, what are you thinking during your first time reading it? It's great. It's whimsical. It's for kids, and I am planning on like trying to bring as much. Oh, look at that! Librarian Liz says she can also be interpreted as mixed race.
Yeah, they never
Hermione.
identify her
I
race
love
ever.
that there are a lot of people
And then the
who
play, she's
create-
black.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Ugh,
That's
Chris Jones.
that's great.
Not
That's
a great
great.
book.
Well, you guys haven't seen the play yet. It wasn't a great
The book?
screenplay.
Don't troll us, become. But I will say I love a lot of the art, that the fan art that comes out of the Harry Potter books because J.K. Rowling has also said she deliberately didn't say that anyone was
Specified.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're mostly British. Let's be honest. They're mostly going to be
but-
white because
But
it's
Britain
because
is
it's
so
very Britain.
diverse. Are you kidding?
Well,
It is.
so
Yeah.
diverse.
I think that's
Have you ever
very.
watched the Great British Bake Off?
I think it's very admirable that
It's in Europe
J.K.
where everyone
Rowling,
goes
that's
to
true.
escape. But like,
that J.K. Rowling. I think it's very admirable that she didn't specify ethnicities. But I feel like maybe it's because I'm an American and I see things, most products from the UK, huge famous ones: James Bond, Doctor Who, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit,
Doctor
whatever
Who
the
is
big
a lot
things
more
are.
inclusive now.
True, but they barely just got a woman. This sort of
Oh,
idea,
sure.
do you know what I mean? The sort of idea that like I get it. It's
And
very
everyone's
inclusive,
very
and I'm sure
mad about
I'm
it.
sure England is very diverse. But I think in this case, maybe J.K. should have specified which ethnicity. Do you see what I'm saying? There's also that argument of like she could have said, no, Hermione's black.
There was no black
She's
person
black.
in Beatles.
She's blackety black, black, black. Deal
It's-
with it. She's black.
It's the same
Here's the
thing
character.
with like Thor Ragnarok where they were like, we almost said that Valkyrie was bisexual,
Right,
but
it's
we
like,
didn't
just-
address it. And
just
it's like, no,
address
just say
it.
it. It's
just
cool.
lean into it.
Just
Just
say
lean
it.
into it because
I agree.
you know.
Change my
But
I also think don't go, by the way, we have a bisexual character.
Don't
We
do
are
that.
so diverse.
No. But
here's
Look at
another,
how great.
Here's
No.
another argument and another thing I love. I love reading this for the first time, knowing that J.K. Rowling envisions Dumbledore as gay.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I wonder if I would have read this differently. Because I'm seeing Dumbledore in every line that he
How many
says
parents would be
to
like,
McGonagall.
why is there a
Of
gay
course.
principal
Well,
of a
that's-
school?
Of course. But reading
That's
Dumbledore.
why I'm so. One of the many reasons I'm upset about Johnny Depp being
Sure.
cast in Fantastic Beasts is that one of the main things I wanted after reading all of the books and sort of the extra stories that you could tell, this
Yeah.
world is so big, is between Grindelwald and Dumbledore and
Yeah.
their relationship.
Yeah.
And I love Jude Law, and I was like, ooh, Jude Law.
Yeah,
Oh
perfect.
no,
Yeah.
but with John, and I was
Johnny
just
Depp.
like,
It's a
why are
bummer.
you ruining this amazing thing I've been wanting to
It could have been
see?
great. It could have
I
been great.
want to see Dumbledore and Grindelwald smooch
So
real
in
bad,
this,
but
in this,
not Johnny Depp.
In that same regard, like in any of the books and maybe in the films, without waving a flag, like look at how diverse we are.
Yep.
I'm sure J.K. Rowling could have said, "Oh no, Dumbledore's gay, no big deal," and then continue.
Wait, actually, a good
would've been
point. If we
great.
scroll back slightly in the chat, someone actually hit the nail on the head.
Algeron says she does fix her teeth magically.
She does.
she does. In the book, she does.
Oh my God, you don't know
You
this.
don't even understand,
Oh my God,
Hector.
you will. There it
Yeah.
is. Odo Fidei says, or Fidei? Britain is massively diverse, and I love that you saw yourself as the characters, whatever that means. So
Yeah.
if you're a black girl, so is Hermione. If you're a white girl, she was too. They were who you needed them to be without taking away from the character. So if you label them,
True.
then you are deciding that for someone.
I agree, except in the case of the types of characters that aren't typically portrayed
Yeah.
in these
I
types of
understand.
stories, typically from places like England, I feel like it would benefit. Basically, I would rather little brown kids be stoked than. Like, I care more about that than if little white kids are like, oh, but Hermione's not white, because then I'll be like, well, little white kids, every other character's white. That's the thing.
There is a consecutive set of characters, the Parvati twins, that are very, very much, are they Indian or Pakistani?
I don't know.
But
Either
they make
or.
it very, very known
Good.
in the books. Their names,
Good.
Parvati Patil.
Ooh,
Yeah.
can't
Patil?
wait.
Patil is their last name. Sorry, the Patil
I
twins.
definitely see what you're saying, and I
Sure.
felt like that I see both sides, and it obviously depends on the person and the character and the thing. But
Yeah.
you know, when people watch Star Wars, for example, we've got Finn and Poe that people are hoping for. I also would really like to just think that Holdo and Leia had a little something at
Why
some
not?
point.
Maybe.
Teacher,
In the
student.
Maybe.
Holdo is definitely queer.
Really?
Oh.
That's great.
Hold on a minute.
Hold on a minute.
Her and Leia have a conversation, and Holdo's like, "Oh, Leia, you only like human males? That's so restrictive."
Oh my God, that's amazing!
That's
Oh my God, which
great.
book
Very
is
nice. Very
I
nice.
forget. I have to-
that? Okay, well,
Maybe it's the new Leia book?
Hold
that
on
just
to
came
your
out?
butts.
Oh yeah, I think
That's
it
pretty
is
good.
the Leia.
That's what I would
Hold
say.
on
but-
to your butts.
You know, I think that
But yeah,
I think at the end of the day, Harry Potter was it was amazing for what it was when it came out, and it needed to be what it was when it came out. The movies and the
I know
books.
this came out.
You know, 2001, 1997 was the first book.
ago.
I also I just think that anytime
Oh my, are you serious?
20 years,
What was 20 years?
the book, this book,
Over 20 years.
yeah,
Really?
Yeah,
because,
21. Yeah, exactly.
We were just concepts in the ether, swirling around in space, and we happened to read this.
I was 10. I
I was
10.
less than
No.
a drunken night, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just
Between
a thought.
Graduate high school.
That's awesome. Great. That's great.
Thanings for joining the conversation. We can't love it. We're also asking how the reread is going. 'cause
Yeah,
obviously,
Rachel
Hector,
Mott.
this is definitely your experience, and I love listening to your take because
And don't,
this
guys,
is,
I'm loving it. It's fantastic. And I just know, and we've only read 4 chapters. We
And
haven't
you'll
gotten to
love-
Diagon Alley yet.
I am
like, I know
so
it's going to get better.
sad and empty that you will never experience what it's like to read these books before
Yeah.
the movies.
No,
and
I'm glad.
As a child.
I'm glad I did movies first. I'm glad I did
And
movies
as a
first.
child, no,
Yeah, but no, I'm. What's that? Huh? I think
No, a
I
Slytherin
mean,
would do that. No, I'm a Gryffindor.
I think we're all in agreement. Princess Bride, movie better than the book.
Yeah.
Not too many other examples of that.
Notebook.
But
Movie's better
Notebook,
than the
movie
book.
better than the
Yeah,
book.
Nicholas
All right, I'll give you
Sparks
that. I haven't read the
writes
book. I haven't read the
trash.
book. But at the
Don't.
end of this,
these are better. The first movie and book are both very good.
interchangeable.
And
Yeah,
the kids are so young that it's like
sure, it's forgivable.
You forgive, but
We'll
like
see.
yeah.
We'll see.
The reread has been going amazing. I've read the books so many times,
Mm-hmm.
but listening to the books is great. This is the second time I'm listening to the books.
Mm.
I love how JK, or Joanne, we're close. I love how.
Wait, what's the K stand for?
Kidding. JK? Just kidding. Wah, wah, wah. How quickly
Ma,
did you
you're
believe
the
that?
best. You're the best.
Because there was a second there you were like, "Get it."
I was like, why not? She's a British woman. What do I know? Joanne kidding Rowling.
Kidding. I love how she'll do dialogue and then kind of explain the dialogue as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very British to be like, yes, that's exactly what I thought. That's not exactly what he thought
Yeah.
at
Yes.
all. I love that, and it's like I'm reminded by it.
Similar, not on the same like zaniness, but Hitchhiker's Guide.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a very
Not as
extreme,
zany, but yeah.
It's a British
Yeah.
quality with writing,
Which
I'm
you
a
can
big
watch
fan
on
of.
VOD.
Yeah, you
On
can.
Project Alpha, what you're on right now, because we read it already.
And then, of course, next week we will be sorting ourselves again. I have been Gryffindor 7 times that I've taken the test, and Slytherin just
I used
I
to
cried,
get,
guys.
I used to only
cried.
get Ravenclaw when I was younger, and now I get Slytherin.
Oh, she doesn't
have
have a
to-
middle name. The K is after her mother. She doesn't bloody have a middle name.
no, but you
well,
have to
isn't
go-
that the biggest lie?
No, she had to go JK because it looks like a male author.
Yes.
And that's how messed up the world of
She literally
writing
had to
is.
use like
Saunders.
a somewhat
Exactly.
pseudonym and not
You
the same
guys, we have to
person.
take bets on what you guys think, what house I'm going to be.
Gryffindor.
We have to like take bets.
100% Gryffindor.
You think
Gryffindor.
I'm thinking Gryffindor.
You are like if
Thank
you
you.
had Gryffindor in a dictionary, they wouldn't pick a Harry Potter
Aw.
character. They would put you.
That's so sweet. That's
You're
so sweet.
Hufflepuff.
Huh? What is Hufflepuff? Readers? What do they do? They're like sweet sidekicks.
Ravenclaw
They
is
care.
readers.
They care.
Yeah.
Oh, Maud.
Okay,
Maude,
guys.
Are you mad
well-
that I didn't say you'd be in the dictionary under Gryffindor? You're upset.
You said heck, but he hasn't even done the test.
I know, but
I said
I'm
6
saying-
times. 7.
I feel like
Aloud.
in
People
his-
were like, clap, slow claps for more.
You're a Gryffindor as well, but I just feel like I'm
I'm way more of a Gryffindor. I'm way more of a Gryffindor. I would be head boy.
To me.
I would be head boy, and I'd be telling you what to do. So, guys, your homework for next week.
Oh, Patronus! Can we do that
Mine's a flamingo, but I'm crying. Don't look at me.
too? Mine was like a ferret.
This is so personal for me.
I wanted
It
a
is.
cat.
I feel so insulted.
I love that I'm going to be a better Harry Potter fan than you. Guys, your homework for next week. Your homework, guys. Read
get a
until the
goddamn
end.
wand.
Read until the end of chapter 9. So stop at the beginning of chapter 10, aka Halloween is the beginning of chapter 10. That's exciting. So stop at chapter 9. Guys, don't forget we are also on Goodreads. I just got a Goodreads account, and I've been putting hella books on there. Everything I've ever read in my life.
Star Wars and Star Trek.
Star Wars and Star Trek. You saw. You know. I'm reading
Oh,
all
I'm
the
sorry.
good
Was
stuff.
that not Gryffindor of me? I'm gonna smash this goddamn glass
Man,
in my hand.
that's so Slytherin.
What did you
that was
get
so
one
Slytherin.
time?
That was so Slytherin of Maude. Guys, don't forget, Goodreads, Alpha Book Club. Come discuss with us if you're interested in joining us via Skype on the show, and let us know what house you belong to. Just let us know on Twitter at Join Team Alpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club. And Courtney's going to get you all set up. Make sure that you send us your book recommendations. We got a book to read after Harry Potter. We don't know what it's going to be.
No, we're reading all the Harry
Send them
Potter.
to at Nerdist, at Geek and
7
Sundry, or at Join Team Alpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club. We will see you guys next week.
Welcome to all the new
Goodbye.
people!
Bye.
Welcome to the new people.